Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night for all of us. Especially for Mrs. Eva Damayanti Situmorang as an artificial intelligence laboratory assistant. So in this video, I will explain about supervised learning and unsupervised learning. But before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Raka Aulia, and I'm from Gombe. My name is 212 406 061. So let's get it start. Artificial intelligence, pembentukan diamond. The title is supervised learning and unsupervised learning. There's two type of content. First is supervised learning and unsupervised learning. The first is supervised learning. Supervised learning is a machine learning approach where the model is trained using labeled data. Labeled data consists of input samples along with their corresponding desired outputs. The goal of a supervised learning is to learn a mapping function that can predict the correct output for new unseen inputs. The training process involves presenting the model with input-output pairs and adjusting its internal parameter until it can accurately predict the output for new inputs. To achieve this, supervised learning algorithms make use of various techniques such as regression and classification. A regression model aims to predict continuous numerical values, while classification models deal with uh, discrete categorical labels. An example of supervised learning algorithms include linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, support vectors, machines atau or SVMs, and neural networks. Supervised learning finds application in a wide range of domains. For instance, in image classification, a supervised learning model can be trained to recognize and categorize different objects within images. In sentiment analysis, supervised learning can be used to determine the sentiment expressed in text, such as identifying whether a movie review is positive or negative. However, one of the key challenges in supervised learning is requirement of labeled data for training, which can be time consuming and expensive to acquire. Supervised learning is a machine learning approach that relies on a labeled data. During the training process, the modeling is presented with input-output pairs and adjust a parameter to minimize this discrepancy between predicted and actual outputs. This approach is commonly used for regression tasks when predicting continuous values, as well as for classification tasks when assigning discrete. However, supervised learning requires a substantial amount of labeled data, which can be time consuming and expensive to obtain. On the other hand, unsupervised learning is focused on extracting patterns and structure from labeled data without the presence of explicit labels. Unsupervised learning algorithm explore the interend relationship within the data to identify clusters, reduce dimensionality of detect anomalies. Clustering algorithm group similar data point together. Dimensionality reduction technique capture relevant information while reducing the feature space, and anomaly detection helps identify unusual data intents. Supervised learning and particularly useful when dealing with annotated datasets or when exploring the underlying structure of data. The second is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning. And unsupervised learning is a machine learning approach where the model learns pattern and structure from unlabeled data. Unlike unsupervised learning algorithm don't really on predefined labels. Instead, they aim to discover intent relationships, clusters, or patterns within the data itself. The main objective of unsupervised learning is to explore and extract meaningful insight from the animal data. It helps in identifying hidden structure or similarities, finding outliers, and reducing the dimensionality of data. Common unsupervised learning techniques include clustering, dimensionality reduction, and generative models. Clustering algorithms group similar data points together based on their feature of characteristic. Dimensionality reduction technique aim to capture the most relevant information from high dimensional data by transforming it into a lower dimensional representation. Generative models, such as Gaussian mixture models or autocoders, can learn the underlying distribution of data and generate new samples. Unsupervised learning has a various applications such as customer segmentation in marketing, anomaly detection in cybersecurity, and recommender system. It's particularly useful when working with large, annotated datasets, as it can help uncover valuable insight and patterns that might otherwise be difficult to identify. In summary, supervised learning relies on unlabeled data to train models for making prediction or classification, while supervised learning focus on finding patterns and structure within unlabeled data. Both approaches are integral to machine learning and find application in different domains, depending on the nature of the data and goals of the task. Uh, s- before we end this uh, presentation, I will repeat again one more time for more understanding the main of the pelajaran. So, and supervised learning was a machine learning approach where the model is trained using labeled data. Labeled data consists of input samples along with their corresponding desired outputs. The goal of the supervised learning is to learn a mapping function that can predict the correct output for new unseen inputs. The training process involves presenting the model with input-output pairs and adjusting its internal parameter until it can accurately predict the output for new inputs. To achieve this, the supervised learning algorithm make use of various techniques such as regression and classification. Regression model to aim predict continuous numeric values, while classification models deal with this discrete categorical labels. Example of supervised learning algorithm include linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, support vector machine or SVMs, and neural networks. Supervised learning finds its application in a wide range of domain. For instance, in image classification, a supervised learning model can be trained to recognize and categorize different objects within image. In sentiment analysis, supervised learning can be used to determine the sentiment expressed in such identifying whether a movie review is positive or negative. However, one of the key challenges is supervised learning is the requirement of labeled data for training, which can be time consuming and expensive to acquire. The second one is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning is a machine learning approach where the models learns pattern and structure from the unable data. Unlike supervised learning, unsupervised learning algorithms don't really on predefined levels. Instead, they aim to discover inherent the relationship or cluster or pattern within the data itself. The main objective of unsupervised learning is to explore and extract meaningful insights from unable data. It helps in identifying hidden texture or similarities, finding outliers, and reducing the dimensionality of the data. Common unsupervised learning technique include clustering, dimensionality reduction, and generative models. Next is clustering algorithm. Group similar data points together based on their feature of the characteristic. Dimensional, dimensionality reduction technique aim to capture the most relevant information from high dimensional data by transforming it into a lower dimension representation. Generative model such Gaussian mixture models or autocoders can learn on the underlying distribution of the data and generate new samples. Unsupervised learning has a various applications such as customer segmentation in marketing, anomaly detection in cybersecurity, and recommender system. It's particularly useful when working with large annotated, unannotated data sets. It can help uncover valuable insight and pattern that might otherwise be difficult to identify. In summary, supervised learning relies on labeled data to train models for making prediction or classification, while supervised learning focus on finding patterns and structure within unable data. Both approaches are integral to machine learning and find application in different domains, depending on the nature of the data and the goals of the task. One common technique in unsupervised learning is clustering. Clustering algorithm group similar data points together based on their feature or proximity. Identifying natural deficiencies or cluster within the data. This can be helpful in tasks such as customer segmentation, where similar groups of customer can be identified based on their recasing behavior. Another important aspect of unsupervised learning is dimensionality reduction. In dimensional data sets, it can be challenging to visualize and analyze the data effectively. dimensionality reduction techniques such as principal component analysis or PCA or TSNE or T distributed stock stochastic neighbor banding aim to reduce the number of the feature is while preserving the most relevant information. This helps in data visualization, noise reduction, and improving the efficiency of subsequent learning algorithms. That's it that I can uh, explain. Plus or means, I'm so sorry, and see you on the next video. Thank you.